So I see in teaching this modularity to everything that reading time we read, writing time we write, and you mentioned several times in your book as well that quote, games are seen as the reward for finishing required work and never part of the actual work. And I see the same problem in our arts integration or even in our when we do media. I feel like we lose the leveraging of doing things like video projects. It's the thing they do after they finish the writing, whereas if they move back and forth in those spaces or wrote while they were creating the video, then you're really playing with the modalities of perception. Then you're really like working off of different strengths. When you're designing game space in the libraries, is this something you try to push and think about, to integrate the different disciplines and integrate the different ways that kids can create?
Yeah, no, I mean absolutely. That's part of the challenge of, whether you're bringing in games as a resource to use to connect and engage kids with curriculum, or if you're, using it as a resource for the students to be makers and creators and use it as a tool to demonstrate what they know and understand is, at the end of the day, classroom teachers have a set amount of time and a set understanding of what they can do and a comfort level. And the goal is to show them and demonstrate how this as a resource and as a tool directly connects to what they need to do as a classroom teacher. There's a lot of, at least here in the States, there's a lot of pressure on teachers to kind of meet certain target goals, to address particular curriculum, and there's accountability for kind of what's happening in the classroom. And so the challenges and the struggles are oftentimes, that sounds really neat and great, but at the end of the day, I need to do X, Y, and Z. So, our approach has always been, well, this is an educational resource. This is a tool that you can use that directly connects and addresses curriculum. And so then that starts a conversation and kind of opens some doors if you're speaking kind of the language of the teachers and the needs and the desires of what they have to hit and what they want to accomplish. And then you extend that with conversations about how this connects with students in a way that perhaps traditional classroom measures don't always do. A lot of the great things that we see from using games and game design is that kids that oftentimes don't connect with more traditional approaches connect here with this type of resource for a number of different reasons, whether there's an authenticity to it that they connect with or a familiarity from their own personal lives that draws them out and brings them in a way. And especially with the design stuff is really funny because you'll have kids that are good students that know how to be a good student and know kind of the traditional ways of what you need to do to be a good kid, and then you put them in this kind of space where they have to be game creators. And suddenly they struggle because that doesn't fit the mold or the expectation of what they're used to. But then you have these other kids that normally don't do well in a kind of a more structured school environment and a structured kind of curricular setup of doing the paper and the worksheets and all of that, and suddenly they blossom and shine and almost take on a role of leadership kind of in that project and in that space because they have a comfort level to kind of think a little more laterally and outside of the box as opposed to your more like very comfortable structured kids that are good with curriculum, if that makes sense.